In this video, we're going to create a website using Python. We're going to use a module called Flask to accomplish that, and we'll go step by step. The code will be in the link in the description below. To start this off, we need to install Flask, and there's two ways to install Flask, globally on your computer or through a virtual environment. In this tutorial, we'll install through a virtual environment. The difference is that when you install it globally on your computer, any Python file can use it, but it's all the same version. When you install it through a virtual environment, you have a sort of local folder here that you can use and then say, okay, it has a specific version of Flask. So it's easier to collaborate because everybody can be on the same version. And also it's easier to deploy because you can say, okay, this is the version of Flask we're using. This is the virtual environment that we're running this in. So for this tutorial, we'll run through a virtual environment. To actually create a virtual environment, we're going to come in here and run the following command. I put these two both because some machines, they have Python bound like this. So just try this one first, and otherwise try this one. So jump up to your terminal up at the top. So it says terminal, and then do new terminal. And then it should create a terminal. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to create our virtual environment by typing Python 3 -m venv and then venv. I like to name the virtual environment. Then from here, what we're going to do is the next command that we're going to run, if you're on Windows, we'll run this. And if you're on Mac OS or Linux or other Unix-based systems, we'll run this. So I'm on Linux, I'll run virtual venv, then activate. If it succeeded, you will notice this venv thing here. Next, what we're going to do is actually install Flask. So with the venv, let's do pip install Flask and hit enter. And then it'll go and install, and then just let it do its thing, and then it will go from there. Cool. For some reason you get any issues with that, you can try some of these other commands. Like I said, I've installed this or on different students on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it's generally this, but sometimes I've had that error out, and even in the virtual environment, we have to try different things. So yeah, go ahead and try those. If for some reason the package doesn't install, I'm going to link that some more information in the description below. Next, we're going to create our server Python file. A server is actually an application. You might think of a server and think of a machine or like racks of machines. You can use that term as well. That's understood and everything. The technical term for a server is actually a piece of software. It's an application. So your computer could be running 50 different servers on it. A server is an application that serves. That sounds ridiculous, but let me give you an example. A website, for example, a server that serves a website, when people connect to that server, it serves a web page. So we're going to create an application that essentially listens for connections and then serves a web page when that happens. Okay. So let's come in here and we'll create a new Python file, server.py, and hit enter. Make sure that it's not created in the virtual environment folder itself. When running students through this, I've had them create this in this folder. So yeah, we'll go from there. Inside of this file, what we'll do is we will create our sort of standard Hello World kind of application with Flask. We'll start out with that and then we'll expand from there. Go ahead and import two things from Flask. We're going to come in and say Flask and render template. We're going to use these later. I'll explain these in a second. Create a new server application simply by calling Flask and then underscore underscore name, underscore underscore, 4 underscores in total, so 2 on each side. Flask will just create a server application. It just needs to know where it is, so it needs to know the name of the application, or the name of the file that you're running from. When you connect to a web server or a web application, you connect via routes. So you need a way for people to connect to your web server. Let's go ahead and sort of code a homepage route and we'll go from there. So we'll say @app route, parentheses after it, and then we'll do quotes and then a slash. The slash means the top of the website. You normally would put stuff after it, but if you just leave it blank like this, it just means the top of the website. It takes in a function. We're going to come in, I'm just going to type this return hello. Okay, let's explain what's going on. A function is like, it's a block of code. Basically, you're saying when somebody connects on this route to your server, run this code, right? Run whatever's inside of this home function. All it's doing here is returning the hello, like hello as a string. That's all it's doing. It's just sending hello as data to whatever connected to it. Pretty standard. Okay, and then pretty basic. And then what we'll do is we'll do app run, and that'll actually run the application. We're actually done with our sort of hello world application. So we'll come in here, jump into your terminal. Let's come in here and let's run our application. So we'll say Python 3 server.py and hit enter. You'll notice that this comes up if it's serving successfully, and it actually gives you a link that you can follow. Feel free to control click it, or on macOS it's command click instead. Okay, so let's take a look at this here real quick. So this is what we got. So the server right here is actually serving a web page. Your web browser, whether it be Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whichever, sent a request to your server, and then your server replied with this, with hello, congratulations. You can actually see down here in the terminal that we got a request from somebody and that sent it. So we actually ended up getting 2 requests, but that's this is the main one right here that we did. So we actually, somebody requested on the slash route, so on the very top of our entire thing, and we got that. Just for informational purposes, you can actually see that there's an IP address in here instead of like you know, a domain name like www.google.com. And 127.0.0.1 is actually a special number that means yourself. So you're connecting to your own computer. Essentially, when Chrome or whichever is looking for, okay, what web page should I go to? It's actually looking on your own computer for the server. And then this 5000, here's the port number. So 5000, your computer has a little over 65,000 ports. That is how all network traffic is sent through. And basically each application says, oh, I'm going to use this port. I'm going to use that port. I'm going to use this port. So right now our Flask application, sort of like a parking lot, it's using port 5000. And so yeah, we're connecting on 5000 here to that port. Any number above like 3000 is generally good for testing it. But yeah, anything. If you, for some reason, hit a port that's already being used, you can just try a different one. But Flask by default uses 5000. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, so we can come in here and we can close this and let's continue on. Okay, let's go ahead and code another route. Let's turn off our server, go to the terminal and do Control-C, and then we'll go from there. So we just need to make another one of these. Let's come in here and I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's do app.route, parentheses, slash, and then we'll do about. So it's slash about. So instead of the top of the page, like just with a slash, we're just doing about. We just do another function here, about, parentheses, and then we'll say return about page. Perfect. Okay, I made the screen resolution a little bit bigger so we can see. Go into the terminal and let's come in here and we'll just restart our server. So we'll say Python 3 space server.py and hit enter. Should see the same thing from the previous one, and we'll go from there. Next, what we're going to do is we'll come in here and click that link here. And what I'll do is I will come in here and bring this over here. So we've got the, perfect. So we have our hello. To test our route, go to the link here up at the top. Don't change this, right? We're going to say /about and hit enter. And then you should see about page. And we'll go from there. If for some reason it does like a Google search, this may have been changed or something like that. Just go ahead and click on the link down here in the terminal and go ahead and just try one more time. All right, go ahead and close your web browser. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to serve HTML instead of these strings. So go ahead, let's create a new folder called templates and hit enter. Then create two files inside of that folder, index.html and about.html. And we'll go from there. Switch over to the index.html file. Perfect. Okay, in here, we're not going to do standard HTML yet. There's a reason for this. I want to show you how to create a sort of base layout HTML file in a second. So don't lay out like a head or body. We're not going to do sort of proper HTML just for the next minute or two. Go ahead and do, or however long this video is. Go ahead and jump in. So we're going to do an H1, like a heading, and we'll say homepage. And we'll hit enter at the end. Let's do a paragraph tag. So, and we'll say, welcome to my home page. If you're not familiar with HTML, these are tags or part of your web page. You begin one by doing like an arrow and then this, and then you end it by doing the arrow / whatever it is. In H1 is a heading, kind of like a title or like a main section or chapter of your web page. And then the P tag is a paragraph. Okay. Jump into your about.html and we'll go ahead and create an H1 here and we'll say about page. Okay, we'll go to the end of the line and hit enter, and we're going to come in and create a paragraph, and we're going to say, my name is Alex. Thank you for visiting my web page or website. Perfect. We have two HTML files that we've created. Let's go into our server.py, and in server.py, instead of returning just a string here, we'll come in here and we'll say render template, and then the name of the HTML file that you want to render. So we're going to say index.html. Do the same thing for the about page. So we'll come in here, instead of doing about page, we're going to do return render template about.html. Just make sure that the return is here too. Perfect. Go ahead, let's stop our server. So go ahead and do Control-C in the terminal, and then let's restart our server again. So we'll come in here, Python 3 server.py, and hit enter. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up our home page again. I'm going to come in here and do that. All right, so we have our home page here. So now it's correctly rendering HTML. And if we go to our about page, you can go here at the very end /about, hit enter. Now we have our about page. So it's serving HTML on both of those. Perfect. Next, we are going to create a base sort of template for all of our HTML files. So if you've used HTML before, you might be familiar where if you just use HTML on like a server or something like that, or if you have a website and you upload HTML to it, you might be familiar that you have to basically copy paste the head or the header and all that kind of stuff. So with Flask, you actually can use templates and you can just code your header and footer once and then have them apply to all the pages. Let's do that. Let's go into templates here and let's create a new file called layout.html and go ahead and hit enter. Let's actually properly or sort of, set this HTML up a little bit more. So we'll come in here and we'll say doc type HTML to do HTML5. Let's come in here and we'll say, let's do our HTML tag for our document. Then we'll come in here and we'll do a head, and then we'll do a body, and we'll go from there. So we have the head describes kind of just base settings about the website or the web page generally, just things that apply to the whole page. And then the body is all the good stuff. It's the buttons, it's the links, it's the paragraphs, all the content of your page. Let's jump into the head and let's hit enter. And we'll come in and we'll add one thing. We'll do meta charset UTF-8. This allows you to use characters. Most browsers are going to kind of do this anyway, but it's good for compatibility just to have that. And then from here, what we're going to do is we'll type a title, so the title of our web page. This is where it gets interesting. So we're going to come in here and use curly brackets, and then we're going to do 2% signs, and right in the middle there, we're going to say block title. So whatever the title is, this is where we can just put something in here. Let's end the block too as well. So if we create a block, we also need to end it by typing end block, and we'll go from there. Take a good look at this. So you use the curly brackets and then %, and then you end it with %, curly bracket. And then you do that. Perfect. Okay, let's come into the body, and what we're gonna do is we'll create a standard header, main, and then footer that will apply to all the pages. So we'll come in here and we'll say header, we'll do that. Let's create a nav, and we'll do that. So we'll just do our nav inside of the header. Let's come in here and we'll do a tag, like a link. So you can click on this to type, we'll do href / this matches our route that we did earlier in Flask. Perfect. Make this terminal smaller. Okay. Then from here, we'll come in and end that, and we'll say home. Take a look at this. So right in between those arrows there, we have home there. Perfect. Okay, let's do one more. So we'll do a href for our /about for our about page, and then we'll do about. Perfect. So we have two links, one to our home page and then one to our about. Go after the header here on line 13 and hit enter. Stay inside the body, and we'll come in here and say main and hit enter. This is where we're going to have Flask fill it out. Something will be here. So we'll come in here and we'll use our curly brackets, our %, and then say block content, and then curly brackets, and we'll say end block, and then we'll do that. The name of the block goes here. It really can kind of be whatever you want, but you just need to be consistent. So if you just want to put content here for now, you can change it later. You just have to be consistent on all your pages. Perfect. Just for the sake of this, let's do a footer too as well. So go right after the end of the main and hit enter. Make sure you're inside of the body, and we'll come in here and we'll do footer and hit enter. Let's do a paragraph tag. So a P tag, and we'll come in here and we'll say this website was made by Alex. Perfect. Okay, so we have that, and we're good to go. Cool. Let's go ahead and inside of this, so we've laid all this out. Now let's go to our index.html, and we're going to add some things to this. Go to the very top and push these down. Okay, so we're on line 1. Line 1's empty. Let's come in here and we'll use our curly brackets and the %, and we'll say extends, use quotes, and then inside of here we'll say layout.html. So we're basically saying all of the code inside of layout.html, we want it in this file here. Perfect. We have two blocks that we need to specify. So let's come in here and we'll say block title. Okay, and then we'll do, and we'll come in here and we'll do an end block. Oop, I forgot a % there. Right there, I forgot a %. I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to space these out. We can space these out, make them nice and neat. And then right inside of here, we'll say home page. So this will be the title. And then we'll come in here and we'll do another %, the curly brackets %, and we'll say block content. And then right there, we will end the block after it. Perfect. Okay, so just to kind of go over this again. So there's a title block, and then inside that, it'll put the home page there, and then the content, it'll do that. You don't have to click anywhere. I want to show you something real quick. So remember this code right here, right? Inside of here, we're going to put home page, what ends up happening is, you don't have to click here. I just want to show you something. Go to, I'm going to show you layout.html. It's going to basically replace this with whatever you put in this other file. The same thing will happen here. So whatever you put here, right? Whatever you put here will be put inside of here. So that's kind of how that works, where you have different blocks where you're like, okay, these are different parts of layout.html that sort of get filled out when you do that. So really, you're always rendering layout.html, but you're saying okay, when you want the home page, you're doing this or whatever. Okay, perfect. And you don't need to lay it out like this. I just did that for the sake of visually kind of looking at it. So let's do the same thing for about.html. We'll come in here, we'll go up to the top, and we'll say our extends, and then we'll do layout.html. Perfect. Let's create another block. So we'll say block title, and then we'll do that. Perfect. And then we'll say end block, and we'll go from there. Inside of here, we'll say about me. Perfect. And then we'll come in here and we'll say block content, and then we'll wrap this all in a block. So we'll end the block off, and we'll go from there. Perfect. So now on each one of your pages, you should now have it should now have all of the stuff inside of layout.html. Let's test this. To test this, go ahead and stop your server down here in the terminal. By doing so, I'll make the terminal a little bit bigger. Go ahead and do Control-C, and we'll go from there. By the way, if your terminal ever gets like this on Mac or Linux, you can type clear and hit enter. On Windows, you can type CLS and hit enter. It'll just like clean everything up. Perfect. That's if Flask is not running. So so let's go ahead and we'll run Flask Python 3 space server.py and hit enter. Perfect. Okay, so our server is now running. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look at it. Bringing up our server here, we'll go into our page. And if you take a look up at the top, you now have, I'll make this a little bit bigger. If you take a look up at the top, you now have two buttons that go to your About page and Home page respectively. And notice that these are on every single page. The other thing to notice too is the title of it, the name of the actual web page itself. Does this really say like 19 megabytes? Wow. Homepage and then About page. Perfect. And then so the title even switches and everything. So very good. The footer is on every single page, and then each one of these are on every single page as well. Brilliant. So we did that. Let's go ahead. Obviously, this page needs some CSS. So let's go ahead. We'll close our browser, and we'll go from there. To do CSS, that's a static file. So go ahead, create a static folder, and hit enter. Make sure the static folder is not inside of any other folders. Like if it's in templates, drag it out. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and create another file inside the static folder called style.css, and we'll go from there. Inside of here, let's test this with a background color. So we'll do body and then curly brackets and hit enter, and we'll just do background color, and let's go ahead and do blue. Perfect. Okay. And by the way, you can hover your mouse. Oh, don't click it, but hover your mouse over this, and then go ahead and you can choose a color if you want, and we can go from there. Okay. So we need to link this to our page, and the beautiful thing about using templates is that you only need to edit one HTML file, right? Let's say that you had like 5 different web pages. You don't need to add that to 5 pages anymore. You literally have this layout.html file, and you can just add it here, and it applies to everything. So on layout.html, go to line 5 here with the title, hit enter. Just make sure that you're inside the head, and we'll in VS Code you can literally type the word link and hit enter, and then it'll do that. So links style sheet. Inside of here, we're going to do /static/style.css, and we'll go from there. So this will tell the server, hey, go to static and then style.css. Perfect. Excellent. From there, what we're going to do is let's go ahead and restart our server. So we'll come in here, jump into the terminal, go ahead and click here, Control C, and we'll come in here, Python 3 space server.py, and hit enter. Perfect. Let's go ahead and bring up our web page. And there we go. We have, if we open up the page, the styles are being applied to that. So home page and about page. Perfect. All right. So last thing I want to show you, just so we can kind of reinforce the static thing, is let's add an image to the page. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag an image of myself over to the static folder. So there we go. So there's a picture of myself. Let's come in here and let's actually add that. So when you go in here, like let's for example, we'll add it to the about page. So in the about page, inside of the content block, let's go ahead and hit enter, and we'll use an image tag. Let me make that bigger. So we'll use a img tag, src, and then we'll say slash static slash, and then the name of the image. Perfect. We'll add alt text, and we'll say photo of Alex. Okay. Perfect. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just test that. Let's go ahead and we'll jump into the about page. You might notice nothing changed. Let's go ahead and restart the server. So jump into your terminal, go ahead and do Control C. And then what we'll do is we'll start up our server again. I'll show you how to do debug mode at the very end of this. Debug mode makes it so that you can actually change your templates, and they'll refresh as you go. Hit enter, and we'll come in and we'll restart our server. You just have to refresh the page, and there we go. We have a picture of myself on the page. Last thing I want to show you real quick is so we got the image working. I want to show you debug mode. So if you jump into server.py, go right, you could put it right here, right after you create the app, and just say app debug equals true. In production, you wouldn't run this, you'd turn it off. But basically what this allows you to do is to edit these HTML files, and yeah, it'll reload the templates. So, you know, you can basically edit your HTML and stuff, and when you refresh, it'll do that. So it'll also reload if you change anything in server.py. And occasionally it crashes when you do that. So if for some reason your server's not running, just go ahead and run it again. You can do that if you're in the terminal. You can do that. Remember, just do Python 3 server.py and hit enter. Perfect. Okay. So that about wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We obviously could add more CSS to this. We obviously could, you know, go and kind of improve this. But this is a basic sort of template for a Flask application. I'm looking to make these videos as beneficial to you as possible. So if you have any feedback, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.